recordings from these classes. Welcome to Art 244. Just turn on the recorder. But I think it's handy. You can fast forward through the boring parts. You can go back to a demonstration that might have given you some kind of insight with something. Or you can just turn on the recording to have um, company if you are all alone in your room or someplace and you don't have somebody to talk to about sculpture. You can always have the recording talking to you about sculpture. Sometimes I get more stuff when I go through it the second time, when I see it presented the second time. Then I pick up all the nuances and the little subtle stuff that I missed the first time. Shut up, take the attendance, see who's all here. Okay, so Donovan, are you here? Donovan has been trying to pick up his toolbox for the last, I don't know, however. Cassifer, you've got your mic open. Did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I have a mute on my headset. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So Casper's here and Audrey's there. If I could just find where Audrey lives in the list, that's good. And Emily, page 2, is here. And Hunter was the first guy in the gate this evening, which is really nice. Jordan is here. And more people are showing up. Cameron, right there. And Zach is here. All right. And PC is here. There we go. All right. So I'm James, in case you forgot. I guess I do have a name tag. I do have a name tag, so you can always look me up on the screen there. But please feel free to ask me any questions. I really appreciated the questions on hollowing out this sculpture because we don't really very often hollow out a bronze casting. We're trying to work in a small enough scale so that it might not need hollowing, but for that particular application, hollowing is absolutely called for. And it will reduce your costs just a little bit if you make this thing into a vessel that has a lid and a lower box area to contain stuff. If you hollow out that extra weight, that extra mass of the wax, that will wind up in being a savings in bronze weight. Most people don't think it's worth it for sculptures this size because you might save $2 to $4 on a sculpture, if you hollow it out. And so your casting costs might go from $12 for the sculpture, maybe down to $10 or $8, depending on how much you're hollowing it out for a relatively small piece. So I don't know that it's really all that necessary, but it's something to think about. Did you guys have a good MLK holiday? I did. I was thinking about how I could hopefully be a better person, not such a jerk about stuff, the world and reality and stuff. I do think about things like affirmative action and white privilege and stuff like that. When I went to grad school, I fully expected that I was going to get a college teaching job at an art school or a university, just because I thought that that I was wonderful and all of that kind of stuff, and I thought that I had it coming. And School of Hard Knocks, I found out that I wasn't all that, and that the world didn't owe me anything. At the time, a lot of art schools, art departments around the country were really interested in trying to create more of a sense of diversity in their colleges. And so they were looking for sculptors, but they were looking for somebody that didn't look like me. And I understand that. I understand, how important it is to have somebody as a teacher that you can relate to and, pattern yourself after. And it's always a lot easier when it's somebody from your tribe, somebody who looks like you, somebody who's your gender and who shares some of your life experiences. So I get all of that. And it's hard because we would really like to think that there's all kinds of opportunity for everybody. And some of us, have always thought that there's, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to get a job no problem because of who I am. But part of that is privilege, and I found out that um, when there are other factors involved in hiring, that's good for the institution, it's good for the society. It might not have been so good for me for about 10 or 20 years of my early and middle career, but I found a place. I found a place in the arts. I found a place in academe. It happens to be at Southwestern Oregon Community College, and that's good. I'm a good fit here. I came from a working class family, and so it's really good for me to be an art teacher for working class kids, because I think I speak the language, and I think I'm relatable, in a lot of ways in terms of life experience. And yet, I'm one of those annoying liberal elitists. So, you got that to deal with too. But I've tried over the years to, kind of cut that back a little bit. Again, through hard experience. All right. Well, in the time that I've been talking trash, I've been refining forms in the front of this sculpture, so that I've got this really wonderful taper coming from the neck, going out a little bit and coming right down into the lower legs of this sculpture. And now I'm starting to get some kind of shape in the side of the sculpture with this haunch, even though it's not well lit and you can't see it very well. But this is coming together in terms of kind of a general shape. It still needs a hell of a lot more refinement to be this cat over here in the picture. But, I've taken it light years from where I was 10 minutes ago. I really think that the first 10 to 15 minutes of sculpting is the most productive, because you've got fresh eyes and you can really dig into things and carve things away if they're too big, or build them up if they're too small, and make some huge changes before you get kind of locked into the piece. And once you get kind of used to seeing those forms and proportions, then it makes it a lot harder to make changes later in the evening. Did somebody have a hand up? Look at that. I'm sorry. See what I did?
It was me.
Hi, Smee.
I'm getting ready to weld some pieces together, and I kind of wanted to ask about when we pour these. Well, I've got gravel and a river bottom built, and I'm working on the detail on it. But here, I don't know if you can, does that work? Can you see that?
Let me
get some more light on it.
I'm going to pin your video so I can see what it is. I'm going to unpin my video because nobody wants to see me. Okay, there's the light. There's your gravel bottom. Oh, got it. Okay. So you're concerned about getting that cleaned up after the casting process?
Yeah, because it's got some little holes through it. And I wanted to check, because I'm getting ready to weld these two pieces on. They're not fixed.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that I was not doing anything really screwy before I, welded these little pieces on here.
You're not doing anything screwy before you weld them all together. That's all very readily castable. I got no problem casting that, and then we can sandblast the snot out of it to get all of the mold material out of the nooks and crannies once we've got a cast bronze piece. So no problem with that piece. That looks good.
Okay, yeah, I went with your idea of I'm gonna make them diving after a fish, and the fish going underneath the log, little cracks between the rocks. But the fish will be like part of it'll be attached to the rock. I don't think it'll be an issue.
You make things difficult.
Well, I'm glad that you suggested doing something underneath the water, because if I had done just a plain otter curled up, I would have already been done and bored. I don't like the way this wax feels on my hands. It's kind of gross feeling, but I love the amount of detail that I'm able to get out of it.
Cool. Kylie, I see that you're here, and I just made sure that you got some participation points for being here. Did you have a question?
Nope, I was just got off work and was
Okay.
like, oh crap, I forgot.
Okay, so have dinner, no harm, no foul. In fact, some of you people who are of drinking age, you can just go ahead and pour yourself that glass of wine, and you can attend class like that. God, I just said that on tape, on recording. Just keep it out of sight, and you know who you are. So those of you who need an adult beverage in the evening to try to unwind after a day. And I had a day today, but
Put it in your coffee cup.
yeah. I'm at school though. I no adult beverages here because I'm right here in school at
No,
the art department.
I mean the people on camera.
Yeah.
I'm drinking coffee because I have lots of homework to do tonight.
I had coffee too because I'm staying up with you guys also. It's I had a hell of a day, and so I needed coffee after dinner to get in the mood for this class. Not that you aren't beautiful, wonderful people, but it was just one of those days, day and a half like that. All right, let's see. Did anybody else show up besides Kylie? Okay. Are there any questions out there? Anything burning questions for the rest of you guys who are kind of just quietly, doing your thing? You don't really want to get called on and don't want to talk in front of other people, and yet here we are. Okay. Well, I've got the cat and I've got the cat going. So I'm going to move my cat pages over. I'm going to pin the video back to myself for just a second. And just show you my next thing, because the next thing is also kind of important. I have this seated sculpture started, and I've got a couple of these views of the seated sculpture. These were photographs that I photoshopped into something that's supposed to look like a charcoal drawing that is an interesting, this one is just an outline of the concept, and this one is a charcoal drawing, but it goes a little bit more sideways. And anyway, so I've got some things to play with now in terms of trying to take this sculpture and refine it some more, because I've got some contours and some proportions that I can actually look at. And I got to tell you, every time that having something to look at to check your proportions and have a visual reference is way better than trying to make it up out of your mind's eye or out of your imagination. So taking those things off camera, but they're visible to me while I work on this sculpture. And I just can't stress enough that if you are having any difficulty, challenges, whatever, please go right back to the idea of researching this thing and doing the Google image search and trying to find something that is similar to what you're doing. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing, but something similar. It can either be an actual picture of someone or some piece of wildlife or something, or it can be a sculpture of that thing. And there's got to be, a billion images out there to choose from. So you should be able to find the front, side, and rear view of just about anything in a similar pose so that you've got something to work off of. Unless, of course, you're doing something that's totally abstract, and then that's your baby. And I can't really help you with that too much, but I can. If you got questions, I can help. I talk too much. I think it's the coffee. I went up to Corvallis on Sunday, and unfortunately bought a motorcycle because I couldn't help myself. So now I'm selling 2 motorcycles to pay for the new one that I just got. And I had to write a check for it. So the check has to clear. So I left the bike up there, got the keys for it, got the got a bill of sale, and I'll go back in 2 weeks to pick up the bike. I got into a kind of a strange, funny.
What type of bike did you say you got?
Oh, it's a Ducati X Diavel S.
Nice.
And it's a stupid bike to have in Coos Bay because the closest Ducati dealer service department is in Portland. So every time you need service, you got to put it on a trailer and haul it up to Portland for 2 weeks. But the Diavel is not one of their sport bikes, and it actually doesn't have this such a crazy maintenance schedule. And so you can usually have it looked at once a year to have things done to it, and you're good. So I'm going to try this and see what happens. I'm not a sport bike guy. I'm kind of a cruiser guy, as you can tell, because I'm so old and ancient and nasty and everything. And so this intrigued me because it was sort of like a cruiser. A cruiser and a naked bike had a baby. And so this is sort of like an upright naked bike, which is a sport bike that doesn't have any of the fairings bolted onto it. And kind of like a cruiser, kind of sort of like a Harley, because it's a V-twin and it's kind of upright with the foot controls forward, like you would sit on a Harley. It's a really interesting hybrid of bike design. But because I'm old, I don't ride motorcycles fast and crazy. And I would really recommend that you guys don't either, because you might see lots of videos of guys carving up turns and corners in the canyons down around Los Angeles. But our roads here are not like those roads there. Our roads here are broken up pavement and have lots of water seeping through them. And you lose traction on our roads a hell of a lot easier than you do on those desert roads down in the canyons outside of Los Angeles. Plus those canyon roads, are 30 and 40 mile an hour curves, and ours in the Coos Bay area are like 15 to 20 mile an hour curves. And you can get in a lot of trouble real fast on those things if you're trying to lean in your bike and do all kinds of fancy curve carving. So
You mean you don't want to drag your exhaust pipes on the ground and make sparks?
God, the thing with cruisers is that you actually drag the pegs on the ground if you're leaning them too far. They're not built for leaning like the sport bikes are.
That was on a Softail, on an 87 Softail.
Did you like just hear the sparks, or did you actually see them?
No, I was passenger. Yeah, it wasn't too cool.
Oh,
But it was a road that we knew really well, but it was like stupid stuff. Young and dumb.
Did you drag that part hard enough that it was jarring to the bike and you felt like you were in trouble? Or was
it wasn't that bad. Actually, the person that I was with, I wouldn't ride with anybody. Well, there's a couple people that I would, but no, he's been riding for years and rode just about everything with two wheels. So he actually did pretty good. He was just trying to keep ahead or keep up. I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Oh, were you in a group ride?
Yeah, we went a lot of group rides, a lot of A-Bait rides, Redwood Run, Sturgis.
Wow. Well, I look at enough YouTube videos of people on group rides that I try to almost avoid the idea of the group ride, because there's so much ego and so much horsing around in a group ride that sometimes it's nice to be by yourself to ride your own ride. I guess the optimal size group for me is about 2 or 3, just enough so that if somebody has a breakdown, somebody can go and get help, but
I
not
agree.
so many people to have to manage all the crazies.
I only ride with 2 or 3 people at a time too, or by myself.
Zach, all right, cool.
Yeah, we did in large groups when we went to bike runs out of town, especially like to Sturgis. I think one year there was like 25 people that went.
I think
that
that's
all
what-
knew each other, but usually it was groups of 6 or 7 people or less, just
Did you
depending
take
on
the
what was going
interstate?
on.
Did you take the interstate or did you take all 2-lane highways to get to South Dakota?
Interstate, I haven't ever
Ooh.
rode out. I came back twice, but I always had to fly because my kids were really young. I didn't want to leave them for the full 10 days.
Oh my gosh.
It was like flying one way and riding the other.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm at the age now where I would not even plan something on interstates. I would try to figure out how to get it on US highways and state roads and stuff and piece together something that was where I could do it at, 60 miles an hour instead of 80 miles an hour, because that's a big difference riding a bike long distance.
It's hard on your kidneys. It's hard on the arches on your feet. It's hard on everything.
Ooh. Okay.
I've done that. I've done the interstate. There was one time I stood up on the back pegs and we had upper and lower pegs, and I took the handlebars and he ducked down. And I think I passed Brad and some other guy that was riding with us on I-5. Going up the hills on the south side of Roseburg where those corners are, it was just stupid. I used to be really young and dumb.
Yikes. Okay. I hope the rest of you are hearing all of this.
Well, we still laugh about it because it's like I look back at them and I was laughing my butt off and I lost my shades. It sucked.
Oh.
But those boys still talk about it because they're notorious for going, those 3 in particular.
Hmm.
Yeah, they go too fast. One guy
Yeah.
has a shop there in Eugene, and he still likes to I think he still likes to have fun like a young one.
Well, you know what they say, there are old riders and there are bold riders, but there are not too many old bold riders. Anyway, be careful out there. I have had to relearn riding after being away from it for 35 years, and it's changed a lot. All the bike technology has changed. There's all these new styles of motorcycles out there. But mostly with YouTube, you can actually learn how to ride. You can figure out the technical stuff so that you can ride well. And I always thought that, oh yeah, I could swing a leg over a motorcycle and ride it. But I was doing that in the Midwest where there weren't really any turns. All the roads were straight and everything. And it's a whole different thing when you're actually on the twisties, even around East Bay Drive in Coos Bay or something. I mean, learning how to lean the bike and learning how to counter steer and how to, break into the turn and come out of the turn. There's an art to all of that. And so it really pays to do all that research, take some lessons, whatever it takes to improve your riding skills.
Are you going to take a Team Morgan lesson?
I don't know. Is that a in-person local thing? Is it in the state here somewhere?
Well, it's in the state, and it goes it's requirement to get your endorsement. But if you already have your endorsement, you can sign up for the advanced classes.
That's right. Yeah, Team Oregon. I didn't quite hear you. Yes, I took the Team Oregon class to get my endorsement last summer. They talked about the advanced classes. And so, yeah, I could go back there with a big bike and try to learn to do the stuff that everybody wants to do on a big bike, slow speed, figure eights, U-turns, all that good stuff. Because I practice that in the parking lots occasionally, but I suck at it. I can't nail it every time. And I hasten to add that what you learn in a parking lot on smooth, dry pavement is not the same as going out and hitting, gravel and whatever else there is out there in Coos County. So
no, I like to keep a sport tire on the front just in case I hit a patch of gravel or somebody chops their grass onto the road.
Yeah.
Good tires on the front are really important.
Yeah. Well, and when I'm on pavement, I'm braking, with my front brake almost exclusively, and the front brakes are 80% of stopping. but you know, you hit gravel or something and suddenly you need to be braking with the rear brake, not the front brake, or
Right.
you're going to dump it. And there's so much of that. The nuance of riding a bike is so interesting. The finer points, kind of like sculpture. Don't you wish somebody would teach you sculpture as much as he likes to talk about motorcycle riding?
Yeah, I like motorcycles, man. I'm good with it.
Okay. Well, somehow while we've been talking about all this, I got into this stupid cat, and now I'm gonna make this, and it's gonna be my sculpture. But it's making me mad because the more I sculpt on it, the more I see that needs to be done. And you may have noticed that as a kind of a interesting irony, paradox of sculpture, that the more you sculpt on it, the more needs to be done. So we will keep working on that stuff, figure out where the tail goes. I'm actually rolling myself a little tail right now, even as we speak. So, you know, just rolling out a coil of wax between my thumb and forefinger and applying said coil to said cat, and then trying to figure out how that curls around and stuff to start to play with the idea anyway. The proportions are not right. So, you know, you try something and then you probably will remake it several times to try to get it to be the right size, the right proportions, and to be able to fit well with the other things on your sculpture. Proportions are like the height and width of something and how it fits with other things. And, you know, we think, well, I got the shape right, but it's not just the shape. You know, the shape could be right, but like the head on my sculpture is too big, or the neck on my sculpture is not quite long enough. If I'm comparing it to this piece here, if I was trying to do this piece, I need a much longer neck, and I might actually need a smaller head on my piece. And of course, the ear shapes are completely different. So change the ear shapes to something that points up at a higher angle. We're always, you know, checking angles and shapes and proportions of stuff as you're trying to refine the form. To the question of what to do with your sticky hands, I hope you guys are using soap in the sink, like dish soap or something. Here at the studio, I have Gojo hand cleaner. So those of you who are grease monkeys and work on your car engines and stuff like that, your Gojo is a really good thing to cut the sticky petroleum wax off of your hands. Any kind of a pumice soap, even a bar of lava soap would be good. Lava, okay.
I've been using hot water and Dawn dish soap, and it's been working really well. It comes right off.
Good. Okay, that's good. Tomorrow, I am going to have my first class with the sculpture class in person, and I am kind of dreading it a little bit. We had our first COVID case at SWAC today, and so they're isolating that person and doing all the contact checks and everything like that. But I will have 10 students in class tomorrow, and I'm going to have some kind of a respirator on and try to teach that class. And we'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting. It's the sculpture class where I will have a nude model in the class, which we interviewed yesterday for that position and made our selections. And so hopefully that we'll get that person hired and onboarded into the SWAC system by next week. But that poor nude model is going to be posing nude for the class, but with a mask on, because, you know, we have to be safe. So talk about your ironies and your paradoxes. That is probably the most ironic thing that I could ever think of, a nude model with a COVID mask. Go figure. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Need any help with anything? Want to show me something and tell me, you know, I just can't make this leg look right for some reason.
I do have a sort of question. if we get to the point where we feel that our sculpture is ready for like finalization, um, what do we do?
What do we do? Well, you put it aside. I'm going to be, this is the end of the third week, if you can believe that already. Technically, we are halfway through the sculpting process. So I think that by the 6th week, I'm going to be starting to ask you guys to bring in finished sculptures so that I can apply a gating system and I can process them. And I'm going to be doing that on camera for you guys. So put it aside and save it up and maybe work on a second piece. You know, I've got 2 pieces going here. And so have a small piece and a big piece, a quickie piece and a more elaborate piece. And you may have it backwards. You may do your elaborate piece first, and then you might blast out a quickie piece after that, which is just fine. There's really no rhyme or reason to this, but you don't have to cast them both or all 3 of them or 4 of them, however many you blast out. Pick the ones that you care the most about, and we can cast them. Sometimes it's fun to cast all the little ones so that you've got stuff to give away to your significant others and stuff like that. And of course, you've got the big project that you're working on. So everybody gets to choose what they want to do and how much of this sculpture you actually want to cast, but everybody has to cast at least 1 piece for this class. All right. You know what? I think I talked too much.
What is the grade based on? I think we've covered it, but
Oh, no, we haven't really covered it. The grade is based on whether I like you or not.
yeah,
Just kidding.
I have a great personality.
Oh, that's good. All right. The grade is kind of roughly based on the sculpture that you make and whether it looks like you've been working on it, you know, the entire time and moving it forward and advancing it and refining it. But you know, I can't only give A's to the art students and not give good grades to the non-art students who are working their ass off. So it's a sliding scale, but
Okay.
you know, it's sweat equity plus the aesthetics of your piece too. So.
Okay.
But usually nobody gets less than a B in here unless they just stop coming, unless they just, you know, for whatever reason. And I have 2 or 3 students every quarter who just bail on the class. A lot of people get into trouble in the 7th week of the term. They get trouble at work. They have trouble with their significant other. You know, some kind of mental illness sets in the 7th week, and a lot of people bail. And that's really the main culprit for people not doing well in these classes, because I think we do a pretty good job of walking you through the class and giving you lots of support to get finished in all of the classes that we do. So, but yeah, there's this 7th week kind of curse at the community college because people tend to fall off the face of the earth right around week 7. It's too bad. I'm seeing that it's, you know, it's coming up on about 45 minutes or so, and you've probably gotten a little bit sick of me talking. This is about as much, if not way more, presenting that I actually do on any given night. I try to run around and give individual help to students in the classroom when I'm doing this in a classroom. And then, so, you know, I'm available to for consultations if you want me to look at your pieces and try to give you a little bit of feedback. And we'll just do it over on the side and we'll kind of whisper, and then nobody else has to hear what we're doing, although it'll be on the video. So if anybody would like a consult, I can answer questions and try to help you out if you're stuck on something. And James, I'm going to get my video back because I like it so much.
With the otter touching 1 foot on something on the bottom and his body suspended in the water, how hard is that going to like be something that's going to have to be cut apart and welded, or can it just be poured as one piece?
It kind of depends. I'll have to take a look at it. I have found that I get into trouble when I try to cast a complex piece all in one piece, and it really is easy for me to weld stuff together. So if I just have to cut off the one
Where it
contact,
attaches.
yeah, where it
Yeah.
attaches, I can cut that off in a place that's easy to weld and easy to grind. There's consideration there. And that's where the pieces would separate, so that I would cast 90% of the otter in one casting, and then the paw, and then the river bottom in the other casting. And that's usually the best way to do it.
Okay, because I can place if it helps, I could place the foot on a flat rock or something where it makes it easier. And I'm glad you're welding it because I hate welding. I suck at welding.
It's okay. You can also roll up some wax balls, little warm wax balls, to use as temporary props. If you have him kind of cantilevered out, him or her, on one paw and floating in midair, but he keeps falling down because of the weight of the wax, you can hold it up with temporary props, and I will know what a temporary prop looks like, and I can pull those out when the casting process happens. But to help you in the sculpting process, you can always prop stuff up if you want.
Well, I was gonna just make them separate, and it gets so warm there by that window where I have my work table that I'll be able to weld him on there and build him separately from the bottom and then put him on, and you can cut him apart or whatever. That
Okay.
works, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've really gotten attached to this critter. Are you still thinking about the one that you saved from the road and brought to the shelter?
I love that little guy. He was so cute. I should send you guys some pictures or figure out a way to show or share or whatever. He was so cute. He was just a little pup. His eyes were still blue. They hadn't even gotten any color to them yet.
So how much trouble do you get into when you deal with wildlife like that? Because I know we're not supposed to touch them, and I know we're not, whatever. And so you found this, and so it needed an intervention because it was on the road. But were they kind of mad at you because you took it out of the habitat and brought it in, or what?
Oh, hell no. It was up by Willamette Pass. It was just west of the tunnel, and it was why they were working on the tunnel. So there was road construction there as well. And we had gotten stopped in traffic, and there were gaps in between the traffic, and we're coming down in the last of this line. I see this little guy humping down the shoulder, and there's like this big rock cliff on our side of the road, and then it drops off like probably at least 800 feet into Salt Creek below. So I knew that he was really screwed. I think he probably came off one of the benches above the road and came down the little trickle of a creek. He was really dehydrated. I picked him up and wrapped him in a shirt and put him in a cooler and ended up driving up to Shintamini Wildlife Center just north of Adair Village. And they were just excited as hell to have him. They loved him because they never get stuff like that. Usually they get like birds and possums and stuff like that. So it was pretty exciting. And then there was some confusion about where they came from, which I'm not sure because I had my name and stuff on the paperwork when I took him in, but they didn't know where he came from. So they named him after the Little Pudding River. They named him Little Pudding, which is really a sucky name.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they should have named him something like O for Oregon ducks.
Well, I'm kind of intrigued
biased.
that he was up that high, because I didn't think that, these things got very high into elevation. I thought they were a lot closer to sea level and, estuaries and stuff like that. But I guess I don't know too much about otters.
There's tons of high lakes up there, and on the benches, there's benches above that road and that cliff. And I think there was probably a pond up there built in the creek somewhere above. And that year, Gold Lake was about 2 feet lower than normal up at the top of the pass. So I think that things got low and his family got lost.
Huh. Okay.
Or eaten. I don't know. But he ended up at the Portland Zoo. I'm pretty sure he's probably still there. that was kind of disheartening. It would have been nicer if they would have taken him home.
Oh. Well, I used to take my child to the Portland Zoo because I was one of those kind of parents. And so maybe we even saw him back in the day.
I don't know. It was, I think it was in 2015, 14 or 15.
Oh, it's been recent. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he's probably still up there.
Yeah.
Being a pup like that, he probably wouldn't have a clue how to survive out in the woods. But hey, that's Highway 58. A good motorcycle road, though.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what I have to graduate from these local county roads and try to get out on the highway more. And, you know, it's kind of amazing if you're not used to riding on highways, you get all that helmet head buffeting in the wind and stuff. Sometimes it's just no fun after half an hour. So I have to kind of work up to it, build up to it a bit.
Just when you get just like ride between here and Bandon, here in Coquille for a little bit, and then start going a little bit farther, go like all the way to Myrtle Point and then back, and then
Yeah.
the ride to Roseburg, that's lots of twists and turns and stuff. So that'd probably be fun on a Ducati.
Yeah, well, that's that's the problem. This bike has got way too much power and lean and everything else. And I didn't really get it for myself. I got it from my son. So I ride a Harley and he rides something fun. And then I ride slow and then he rides fast. So I'm just kind of ragging on him the whole time to be careful and watch out and blah, blah, blah. He's a pretty good kid and he listens for the most part, most of the time. And then I get to ride it too, occasionally.
That's the nice thing about the Harley, though. When you want to go somewhere long distance, you could just pop a windshield on there, and that'll help with the fatigue and the
Yeah.
bugs.
Oh no, this is a Road King and it's got, it's a bagger and it's got a wind screen, not a fairing, but it's pretty bike. Just, it's a traditional Harley Davidson. And I thought that's what I wanted. I always wanted something like that. I finally got to get my dream bike. And then I started looking around and, ooh, that Yamaha Raider. Now that's a really cool cruiser. And then this stupid Ducati came along. It's like, ooh, that's nice. So I get problems. I have issues.
We all do.
So I keep buying stuff and then selling it so I can get something else. All right. Well, you've been a wonderful audience. I'd love to take you home with us. We'd love to take you home. But I think I'm going to call it a night. Um,
I don't think
hesitate.
anybody else got the Sergeant Pepper's thing.
Ah, don't hesitate to email me if you've got issues or problems or anything. This is, of course, our last and only thing for the week because we won't meet again until next Monday. Let's see, Kylie, you got your mic open. What's up?
Oh, my bad.
Oh, no. I was just wondering if you had a question. I'm looking at Emily. Emily's looking down at her sculpture. Now she's looking at the camera. Hi, how are
It's
you?
probably on from the grading thing still.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. And Audrey's over there on the couch. Hi, Audrey. How's it going? How's the sculpting going? She's waving a sculpture at me. Now everybody's picking up their sculptures and waving them at me. Yeah, is that a sea lion? What is that? I can't see that.
Beginning of an elephant.
Oh, cool. Okay, very good. Fantastic. All right. So, smile. You're on candid camera. Fantastic. All right. I'm going to leave you guys alone. This was fun. but I think I'm going to leave you guys alone. So you can keep on sculpting, and it's kind of fun to pick this up every once in a while, and then it's really fun to put it down for a couple of days. Come back to it with fresh eyes if you get tired of it or you just get frustrated, because 2 days later, looking at it with fresh eyes can usually clear up the problem that you're having, to make that head bigger, to make that leg longer, whatever it is. But you do also have to be bold. You have to be willing to cut that piece off, or carve it down, or do something to it. And I think that's the hardest part, because you think, it took me so long to sculpt this thing, I never want to change it now that I've got it, because I could never put it back the way it was. But you always can. You have the power to be able to resculpt that thing 10 times if you want to. And most sculptors learn that they do wind up resculpting pieces 10 times as they are refining and refining the forms and trying to find the way that it looks the best. Okay, enough of the sermon for tonight. I'm going to see you guys.
Farted again.
What was that?
My husband's just being gross.
Oh,
Have
All
a
right.
good night, Fritz.
On that happy note, I will see you guys next week. Thanks, and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Like,